Welcome back. If you've seen our first episode, you might have gotten the idea that parenting actually has another side to it. A person can actually parent and get joy out of it, instead of what we all know is a very hard and difficult obligation that we all have to parent our children. How is it that we get to that joy? And we also, of course, have to answer, why is it that that is the first mitzvah in the Torah? The first obligation in the Torah which is supposed to be our guide through life. The first thing is, have children and raise them. The Nefesh HaChaim, of course, answers that question, because the Nefesh HaChaim tells us, the Pasuk says, B'tzelem Elokim, in the image of God, Hashem created the human being. In order to get that copy of an image, a person has to be able to do kaviyachol, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do. And therefore the Nefesh HaChaim says, a person, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can create universes and ruin them. Not our topic. But what is relevant to us, that just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu created human beings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilled in us that ability to recreate, to produce a full human being, and that human being will also have that same ability, will also have that same image of God, and also be able to recreate. Now that is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to put it in the first mitzvah in the Torah. Because in order to complete that image of a person, in order to show us that indeed we are completely Tzelem Elokim, the first thing we need to know is that we can recreate. But it's more than that. The way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world is that He created a creation that He gets joy out of. And He gave us that same opportunity. If we recreate, if we create that human being, we can reap the joy, or what we like to call the nachas, from those children. If indeed we understand how parenting is supposed to work. You see, the Rambam tells us that every person has the potential to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Now let's imagine for a second, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the opportunity to have a child, that child has the potential to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. I imagine the responsibility that all of us have when we look at our children and think to ourselves, how in the world am I supposed to raise the next Moshe Rabbeinu? The Chasam Sofer gives us the answer to that. The Chasam Sofer tells us that even when a person does not have the ability to affect something, to create something, to cause something to happen, if however that person is sent as a shliach, if he is just a messenger, then he takes with him the power of the one who sent him. Now let's think, who is giving us the responsibility to create and raise those children? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself. And if Hashem Himself is giving us that responsibility to raise our children, who, like we said, have the potential to be like Moshe, that means that we carry with us His power. Indeed, that energy and power flows through us, that we can raise a child to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. How? How can we channel that energy? Only if we understand that parenting is an nisayon. It's a test, like we said before. It's not an obstacle. It's not something that's standing in our way of us wanting to become whole or perfect or successful. It's a nisayon, it's a test like any other test. And if we open a Chovos HaLevavos, a Sha'ar B'tachon, we see that Chovos HaLevavos tells us one of the differences between a person who has bitachon and does a shtadlus in parnasa versus the person who does not have bitachon. Says the Baal Chovos HaLevavos, a person who has bitachon that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even when his work, his parnasa does not go well, he is completely at peace. He has menuchas hanefesh, he has shalvas hanefesh. Why? Because he knows it's just a test. It makes no difference to him what's happening in the world. He is always b'menuchas hanefesh. He's always at peace with himself and everything around him. because he knows it's just a test. And if it's just a test, the outcome is not up to me. As far as it's relevant to Parnasa, he knows the outcome is up to Hashem. Hashem will provide him with Parnasa. As far as it's up to our children, the outcome is up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take care of his kids. And his kids equals our kids. What's up to us is what we are supposed to do. And that is a test, a nisoyan, which means we can do it with menuchas hanefesh and we can do it with joy. Now let's understand one last thing that we discussed last week. We said parenting is not about the children. Some of you might have thought, wait a second, I thought parenting is only about the children. The truth is, both of these statements are correct. Parenting is an obligation. Parenting as understanding what we are supposed to do is not about the children. We are obligated to have and raise children. Not because they need to be raised. As we said, Hashem can take care of that. We are obligated to do this job because this prepares us for our connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for our histapkes b'Hashem, for our olam haba. However, how we do this, how we parent, now that's all about the child. But we can only do that when we understand that parenting itself as an obligation is about our future. When we understand and internalize that this effort, this energy that we're spending to parent is the one thing that's going to enable us to have histapkes b'Hashem, to be ne'ena mizev hashchina, to be zoichet to olam haba, which we talk about our entire lives. If we understand that, of course it will bring us joy. Of course we can do it with menuchas hanefesh. How we go about doing that, that is all about the child. That is chanoich lenar al pi darkei, which in Yitz Hashem we will discuss in the coming episodes. But that is the distinction. The obligation of parenting is our personal test, is our personal obligation. How we parent is all about the child. This series is produced by the TorahWire.org and sponsored by the DonorsFund.org. For all your charitable giving and for a completely free and convenient experience, open your account today at the DonorsFund.org. Have a wonderful day.